Hi everyone, welcome to Infinite Women. I'm Allison Tyra, and today we're talking about Elizabeth Packard and her battle for her children, her rights, and her very freedom. In 1839, at age 22, Elizabeth Parsons Ware married the cold and domineering Calvinist minister Theophilus Packard, who was 14 years her senior at the insistence of her parents. After spending a decade as his submissive and obedient wife, including bearing him 6 children, she became inspired by the burgeoning women's rights movement and began expressing her own opinions, ones that often contradicted her husband's, including on religious matters. He began telling people she was mad and locked her in her room with the windows boarded up, before having her committed to an insane asylum in 1860. Now, in Illinois at the time, the law required a public hearing before a person could be committed against their will, unless a man wanted to lock up his wife. Theophilus Packard claimed that his wife was slightly insane due to excessive application of body and mind. And for more on that kind of nonsense, please do check out my podcast episode with Brandy Scalacci on pathologizing women, which I'll link in the description. But back to Elizabeth. She was imprisoned for 3 years at the Jacksonville Insane Asylum before doctors, due in part to pressure from her children, declared her sane and released her in 1863. Now, upon returning home, her husband once again locked her in a room and nailed the windows shut. She was able to get a letter out to her friend Sarah Haslett describing her situation, and Haslett in turn took it to Judge Charles Starr. He issued a writ of habeas corpus, which literally translates as "you shall have the body," requiring Theophilus to bring Elizabeth to his chambers. Starr then scheduled a jury trial to determine Elizabeth's sanity. The case, which was called Packard v. Packard, lasted 5 days, in which Theophilus's lawyers argued that disagreeing with her husband meant she was mentally ill. Elizabeth's witnesses included a physician and theologian, Dr. Duncanson, who asserted, "I do not call people insane because they differ with me. I pronounce her a sane woman and wish we had a nation of such women." The jury took only 7 minutes to render their verdict in her favor. She was declared legally sane, and Starr issued an order that she could not be confined. But that's not the end of the story. When she returned home, she discovered that her husband had rented the house out to another family, sold her furniture, and run off to Massachusetts with all of her possessions, money, and their children. She had no legal recourse, as married women had no legal rights to their property or children in either Illinois or Massachusetts at the time. In addition to forming the Anti-Insane Asylum Society and the work that she would do advocating for women's rights in that area, she also petitioned the Illinois and Massachusetts legislatures. In 1869, both states passed laws granting married women equal rights to property and custody of their children. At this point, Theophilus voluntarily gave up custody, and the children came to live with her in Chicago. She fought the law, and the laws changed. For more on Elizabeth Packard, I recommend Kate Moore's The Woman They Could Not Silence: One Woman, Her Incredible Fight for Freedom, and the Men Who Tried to Make Her Disappear. Join us next time on Infinite Women, and remember, well-behaved women rarely make history.